Okay, it's a pretty wet day right now. We're in Nashville still, and this morning we've come to check out Dave Leonard from All Sons and Daughters recording studio where he produces a bunch of albums and writes cool stuff, so I'm gonna go run in there.
There's so many things that were just like over and over again. People are searching and doing all this kind of stuff, but people will gravitate to something that is real and vulnerable, and they can feel it and they know that it's real. All this stuff that's like forced and trying to be that kind of stuff, that there's no chance that'll make it. But when there's real people who are doing things that they truly believe it and they truly sing the same passion and the same fire of the lyrics that they have, it's undeniable. I would much rather work and have no one know anything that we're doing.
Yeah.
It's like I would rather just go.
Yeah.
And just work the head down, and then let's poke our head up every once in a while and go, is everybody still here? Yeah. Okay, we're still here. Keep going.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so I'm on the road now to Atlanta. I managed to hire a car, and I've also never driven in America on the right side of the road, or should I say the wrong side of the road. So this morning I went to visit the Integrity Studio where Dave Leonard from All Sons and Daughters is mixing some music right now. It's such a cool place to be able to just sit and create. And we also had a good conversation about just music generally and like where things are heading, and the fact that there's so much new creative music that is emerging at the moment, and it's more kind of outside the box than your typical CCM radio music. And yet it's still 100% worship, so it might not fit in the mainstream world, and it's this kind of like cool new thing that's happening, and we feel a part of that with Rivers and Robots, and we keep meeting other people that are on that journey as well, and yeah. So right now I'm heading to Atlanta to go and see our friends in Housefires. Those guys came over to the UK last year, and Rivers and Robots opened for them in Reading, and we also got a chance to do a bit of writing with them in Northern Ireland, so when they heard I was in America, they were like, hey, come and hang with us for a couple of days. So that's the plan. Heading up to Atlanta now. I've got about 3.5 hours to go. So just going to stick on some music and enjoy driving on the wrong side of the road. Okay, I've just made a quick stop to pick up something very important. I'll be back. Okay, now we're good to go. Alright, I'm here in Atlanta with Tony and JJ from Housefires.
Yeah. We got the nature and technology dudes in the house. Only you can oh, my sweet Caroline. What compares my sweet disposition. Oh, only you can Andy, go to bed. Go to bed. Good boy. Pops, dude.
Saying hello to YouTube. Any words for the vlog? No? Okay.
They sell high-end audio, and what they know about audio, and you can go there and listen to the
Atlanta, where the players play.
This is like kind of the best view of the city if you're driving through.
Yeah.
You can see it on the side. Right in front of us is the Pencil Building. It's one of the top 50 tallest buildings in the world, but you can't tell because it's down in a valley there.
Oh,
At the very top, they have a rotating bar.
uh-huh.
Within the hour, you get kind of panorama of the
Thanks for the hang, dude.
Cool, see you guys. About to take part in the authentic USA breakfast experience.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Waffle House.
I'm gonna add a G. It's traditionally gospel, grace, and glory. I'm gonna add gospel, grace, glory, and grease.
Thanks.
And then you just let it sit like that.
Okay.
You don't touch it, and then it goes all in. You just leave it alone.
It's the American
That,
business.
what is that? What is that, mate?
Okay, so the Waffle House experience went well. So it's 20 past 11. JJ's just heading off to a wedding. So I'm going to go check out Atlanta and see some cool stuff, see what's going on. Alright, so I'm now back in the UK. I've had a couple of days to try and adjust to the jet lag and process some of the things that happened on the trip. So to end this video, I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts that I had from this trip as a whole. I'm noticing a change in the Christian music industry in a really good way. As Rivers and Robots, as a band, we are kind of navigating this space of like trying to push some boundaries in worship music and trying to write the kind of songs that are honest to us, and also seeing it just kind of break outside of the boxes that we've put worship music in. And we have a lot of conversations around this kind of thing, and sometimes you think that maybe you're on your own having this kind of conversation, but what was really encouraging about this trip, just to visit Nashville and meet all the guys from Integrity and the Housefires guys in Atlanta, was realizing that those same conversations are happening in those places as well. And I loved hearing from JB, who's now heading up Integrity in the US, and just hearing his vision for the label and where things are going, and their desire to see like authenticity and creativity in worship, but also to raise up worship from other nations, like not just to send American and English songs around the world and translate them, but to bring out like the natural songs from those places and their expressions of worship as well, which is something that we're really passionate about as well with our trips to Japan and that kind of thing, where we're trying to meet with worship leaders and people writing the songs of Japan. We love to see and hear worship coming from different nations and just authentic, real moments coming from real people in an honest way that is like unique to them and is their own voice and their own sound. And this is something that we'll talk about a lot more on the Set Sail channel and dive into this topic in all its depth and detail, but I'm encouraged to know that the industry is changing and that this is a conversation that's being had in a wider kind of context. And another thing I wanted to briefly highlight was I was chatting to Tony from Housefires about a new thing he's starting called Tribl, which you can find online now. You can go on tribl.com, and they've also got a YouTube channel, which I'll put in the description. So a lot of people nowadays are going to YouTube and listening to live worship sets and kind of spontaneous moments rather than just an album. And I think their vision is to sort of collect those type of moments and have an app where you can actually go and listen to live worship moments from around the world, all different people, different communities, and their expression of worship. And again, it just feels like a move back to real authenticity and worship. And you know, the music industry as a whole is changing a lot, with like people being able to make music in their bedroom, and even big artists going and doing living room shows, and music just becoming way more personal and diverse and beautiful. And to see that happening in the Christian music industry as well is really exciting to us. So, and just to be clear, we're not hating on mainstream worship or Christian radio or anything like that. We love all that stuff, but we just think there's more as well, and there's a lot more diversity, and we want to see what happens when more people start like pushing boundaries and pushing outside the box of what we think worship music should be and what it should sound like. And one of the things that JB mentioned was how important it is to never settle and never just sit back and go, okay, this is what we do now. We create this kind of music and we sing it in these kind of places, and it's important to keep moving things on and keep progressing, but also, as well as pushing boundaries and expanding outwards, you want to keep coming back to the simplicity and the heart of like, this is all about Jesus and all about being in his presence. One of my favourite things from this weekend was hearing a guy called Bob Sorge, and he was talking about the Psalms and how David would, you know, take from the old scriptures and he would sing those things, and he was talking about how important the word is to our worship, and worshippers should be people who love the Bible, who love the word of God, who take time to sit with it, meditate on it and sing it. And he was talking about keeping that fire in your heart burning, and the way to do that is to collect wood for the fire, and the wood for the fire is spending time with Jesus and spending time in his word, and that's where true worship comes out. So I'm just really excited to have spent a week having conversations with these kind of people who are talking about coming back to that place of intimacy and just getting that heart of worship right, but also not settling into our ways of doing music like we always have done, but being able to like think wider and dream bigger. And yeah. Anyway, enough of my rambling. I'll end the video there. I just wanted to share some thoughts from the trip. So we'll be back next Friday with another video. If you're new here, this is the Set Sail channel. We make videos about the space where faith meets art every week, Friday, 8 PM. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week.